one thing I think, thank you. One thing I think that you need to know that all the experts are partners of ours, and when I say partners, it's because we don't have near the expertise that these folks have, whether it's McGladrey and all the tax credits, and we're talking multiple states, a lot of different areas that we're involved in. Some of the other folks from the Zeph Center, Pam, I mean, these are all people that have tremendous, tremendous information, and we believe in partnering. Before I ask questions from the group, I just kind of want to tell you a little bit about where we're headed, because some of the things really haven't been talked about. Why do we have to convince people to hire veterans? No one's asked that question. Well, the reason why is because people are scared to death to hire veterans, especially any that have served in the theaters that we earlier mentioned. There's an emotional attachment. What if the veteran doesn't work out? I hire them, they don't work out. Emotionally, I don't know if I'm ready to let a veteran go. So what we are doing is, and we're launching it here in Ohio, and it's a Job One website for veterans. Any company in Ohio can put the veteran on our payroll. They, just as Master Chemical hired them from us, you can put the veteran on for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. It gives you the opportunity to make sure that the veteran's going to fit the culture that you have at your company, but it also gives the veteran an opportunity to look at your companies and decide, is this the kind of company that I want to work for? So that's an initiative that we're very proud of, and we think that it's going to allow a lot of companies to give the veteran an opportunity without going through an emotional attachment. We're also, one thing that we always talk about today was being employees. You know, veterans have a lot to offer as small business people who are starting a small business, but coming back they may not have the resources to do it. So part of that is also going to be available is that we're going to help the veterans to start a small business. Therefore, the Chamber and their group, it can be an SBA loan. Job One USA will do the back office. We'll make sure all the taxes are paid, tax credits, any of those kinds of things they don't have to be experts at, but they may have experienced a lot of technology, they may have a lot of great ideas, and our theory is in order to get veterans employed, what would be better than to back a veteran in a small business? You can imagine who that veteran's going to employ as more veterans. By the way, the name of our program is 36 to 1. Our state ranks 36 worse of 50 states in hiring veterans. So there's a huge opportunity in the state of Ohio, and we'll be working with Josh Mandel and a lot of the folks in Columbus to kind of get this program launched and how to get us from 36 to first. Another exciting program we have, I'm currently working with a fellow by the name of Howard Schultz. You may know him as a coffee shop owner of Starbucks, I believe is the name of his company. And of course they want to hire 10,000 veterans in the next 5 years. But let's face it, you don't want to pump caramel into my cup of coffee. That's a job, but that's not necessarily the kind of jobs we're looking for veterans. So we call it Job into Jobs, and what we're hoping to do first in Toledo and then Ohio is actually put in computer terminals where veterans can go in and apply online, be directed into Job One USA, and then we help them with their career choice. By the way, if that veteran that's put on the Job One payroll doesn't quite work out, the company doesn't have to worry about what happens to them. We'll automatically will be on our rolls. If there were some issues on the jobs, we'll certainly counsel them. And then what we'll do is help them with their next job search. A lot of companies are also kind of afraid, well, what if they get called up again? What am I going to do? And I'm not trying to sell Job One USA. I do that every day of my life, but what we'll do is while that person goes to active duty, we'll put the replacement in. When that person comes back from active duty, we will then make sure that the person who replaces them isn't thrown on the street. We'll help that person with finding a job. So what we're trying to do is develop some programs and partnerships, and we look for more and more partnerships from the private sector in order to address this issue. We think this is a private sector with the help of the public sector that can help us through this. And finally, we're launching, we've had four radio shows over the years, all about employment. So I was approached recently to put together another radio show on employment. And I said I would if I could do a Job One Veterans radio show. And that is going to be launched January 10th. It's on the ticket, which is Cumulus 106.5. And we're actually, the neat part is in today's world with radio, between YouTube and podcasting, we're actually going to look for national sponsors like our McGladrey folks. And by the way, before I get further ahead, one of the reasons why we're successful with some of these groups is my buddy over here, George, would you stand a second? George Hillo from McGladrey. George and Jane and myself and Betsy are all headed down to the Sugar Bowl to watch Ohio State kick the crap out of Alabama. So, yeah, Nick Saban is going to get his due. I can guarantee you that. But the radio show will be a call-in show, so we can have people, employers call in asking questions about hiring veterans, what's available, what's not available. We also think it'll be a great format for veterans to call in. By the way, the person who's going to kick off that show is the person responsible for having a World War II memorial in Washington, D.C. Most people either don't know or have forgotten that there never was a World War II memorial. Now, my era, Vietnam, there is a memorial. Korea War, World War I, Spanish-American War for crying out loud, Civil War, certainly. But there never was a World War II memorial. And unlike most people who think that Iwo Jima was World War II, it was, but it was for the Marines. It wasn't for the rest of us in our services. So there was a lady by the name of Marcy Captor, who about 15 years ago got a call from a fellow in Swanton pointing out we didn't have a World War II memorial. And believe it or not, it took Marcy 15 years to get Congress to authorize money for a World War II memorial. Unbelievable story. And so she's going to kick off on our show. So those are some of the things that are going on. We're kind of excited. We think that we're going to be able to affect the employment of veterans, but quite honestly, we think the beneficiary, in this case, my beneficiary is Dan. Dan does a hell of a job, and couldn't do it without him. Sorry for that, but it does get emotional. With that, I know that there's probably a lot of questions, and sometimes the best format is after where the program's over. We've all been sitting here gathering a lot of information. My guess is we all believe in everything that we saw up here, and if there's any specific questions that I can direct around the room, that's great. If there's no questions, the only thing we ask is that if you have any interest at all, please feel free to contact any of the partners that presented today. We're going to continue doing this. We hope to take this on the show, on the road. I think we're going to Fulton County next, if somebody didn't tell me that earlier. So with that, I want to thank you all for your attention, and I'll field any questions that you might have. If not, I think we've sat through long enough. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.